Okay, sorry guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you could introduce yourself and just explain a bit about who you are, what you do.
Hello, I'm Vito Malazzo. I am the first president of AirTV. Before AirTV came around, Stirling University was a desolate landscape. If anyone's ever seen any Mad Max film, apart from the first hour of the first one, that is exactly what Stirling was like, metaphorically, before AirTV came around. When I went to university, that was between 2000 and 2004, so that's around 20 years ago now since I graduated. Our film and media course was pretty much theory-based for its first few years and then practical. People still had the need for an outlet for their creativity, which the official media course couldn't. And when I first went there was a society called VideoWorks, which was dedicated entirely to cinema, as you would expect. I started in VideoWorks as the equipment officer, so I was in charge of the editing equipment and the camcorders, which were our cameras at the time. We were very much in competition in terms of getting members in with Air3, the radio station, Suds, the drama society, and Brig, the newspaper. They were very much the big three. And what we needed was something that was a bit more consistent than just our annual Oscars. Once the VideoWorks team had kind of graduated out, it was then down to the newer committee members like myself to kind of see what we wanted to do and move forward. And what we came up with was what became AirTV. There were several steps we had to take in order to transition from VideoWorks over to what we then want to call AirTV. AirTV was a name created by George Rintoul and Neil Davidson, who were the president and vice president the year before me. And where Air3 were able to broadcast from Air3 Castle, we were looking around and thinking, well, actually, we've got places like, the Gannicke, we've got places in town, and we've got the Student Union. We could try and have an audience there. We could try and say, okay, 5 o'clock every Wednesday, which I think was our original idea, we will have an hour of AirTV, and we will do this, I think, every 2 weeks was what we planned on doing it first. So that's where we came up with it. We would have our annual Oscars ceremony, which was going to be held at the McRobert Arts Centre, and then every fortnight we would have AirTV in the Student Union. What stood in our way was the legal challenge of how to actually have a Student Union showcase in that venue, because back then we couldn't really compose our music efficiently. We didn't have music libraries, so we had to rely on copyright music. That was the big challenge, was actually how we could logistically take commercial music tracks and have them in the union. And that kind of flummoxed George and Neil for basically the whole of their final year. And then as you're in fourth year, your last 3 or 4 months become geared to what you're doing after uni. And George and Neil kind of just ran out of steam with it, and it looked like AirTV was about to just die a complete death. I became president. The union said, look, you've got a month or two over the summer to just come to us with a plan. So I had kind of got the groundswell opinion from people at our annual Oscars that this was going to happen. We were going to do something more frequent. We were going to have short movies. We were going to have news coverage, sports coverage, music coverage. And our first meeting after the summer break, when I cracked the legalese of what we needed, I'd gone through the music rights issues that the union had, and I'd been able to kind of work around them and find the loopholes that we needed. That is when I knew something was going to happen, but I realised other people believed it, because our first meeting after that summer break was my first official meeting as president. And we were in one of the halls in the Cottrell building, and it was rammed. People were just really wanting to hear what was going on.
And I think anyone who went to Stirling who had any interest in making stuff was part of AirTV. So I'm Mark Lacey, and I was in AirTV. I was the president of AirTV from 2004, 2005.
An average week at AirTV around that time was fucking chaotic, to be honest.
It was still early in working out what we were doing. I think In those days, we used to screen in what was the studio, which was the Student Union Bar. And so we used to do a weekly show from memory.
You would be sharing a media office with Air3 and Brig. And one of our first weeks, we'd reached out to some top politicians who had gone to Stirling University, who were high up in the government at the time, and we would be going over to Edinburgh, interviewing them, bringing back the footage. And you could feel something was happening because, you know, the newspaper people were wondering how we got those interviews. And the radio people were like, why are they doing stuff instead of just sitting around talking about who their favourite actor is?
We had news, which was kind of stuff that was around campus, sport, which was, yeah, you know, filming either football matches, rugby, things like that. Trying to encourage much drama. There was a lot of talk about doing a soap, which never quite happened.
So those first couple of weeks were like great. We had an absolutely fantastic head of news, a woman called Hannah Bardell, who was an SNP MP until very recently. And she was so proactive about getting things in the local area. We had a fantastic head of music, a guy called Cameron, who had somehow found his way into the inner circle of Biffy Clyro. So we'd launched with a news piece about a controversial construction that had happened in Stirling, but also an exclusive interview with Biffy Clyro. And that was something that, you know, we weren't ready for. We weren't ready for like the demands of doing this and also try to do our studies and our second jobs. So it felt great. It was like an adrenaline rush. You know, you're in the office till like 1, 2 in the morning. Sometimes you'd go out partying and then come back at the office to like finish an edit and then get the programme out onto the video cassette, which was fucking hardcore, to be honest, because you'd have to edit the show, make sure it was okay, and then watch it in real time as it got burned onto video. So it was fun. Like I miss those days because focusing on getting something off us to a certain quality, or what we thought was a certain quality. Because if you look at the videos now, it's like looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Me and Vito had worked together quite a lot when he was the president, and, you know, big shoes to fill, literally and figuratively. It felt at the time like a lot of responsibility. I guess looking back it feels a bit different, but at the time it did feel like it, especially as it was new and it was kind of starting and we'd only just managed, I think sort of the year I did it was the first time we'd sort of managed to get it going, a sort of regular programming every week. So it felt like a lot of work and a lot of responsibility. I remember we made a lot of great, we used to do a lot of short films. I made 3 or 4 short films while I was there. And they were all those fun. We did a zombie one, and I remember everyone was pretending to be dead and making zombie dying sounds, and my neighbour came and knocked on our door because he thought we were all in trouble and that something was happening. And yeah, and all that. And I used to really enjoy the Oscars, like the end of the year, like having a chance to show people the films and everyone having a bit of a party was always fun as well. But yeah, those things were always good.
I wouldn't say I've got a complicated relationship with AirTV. I think this is the first time I've done anything official with AirTV after 20 years of being away from Stirling. It's not because I'm embarrassed at all. I didn't realise until I was told that there was an award with my name on it that I'd actually done something good with AirTV. I thought I'd just annoyed the student union and dug through the legal books they wouldn't expect me to. And when I hear that AirTV are one of the top 3 student television stations in the country, and right now the top TV station in Scotland, what? Then, you know, I'm proud. And in terms of watching on, I couldn't be prouder. You know, it's like my kids just won an Olympic medal and scored the winner in the FA Cup at the same time. You know, through the years, everyone's just innovated so much. This is just like a progression, and I'm so glad it's a progression. It's not just like, you know, what we used to do at VideoWorks, which is like film each other trying to do Al Pacino impressions. Al Pacino's an actor from, some films. When I hear that people have got lifelong friends from AirTV, when I hear that people have got, you know, the career because of AirTV, they found themselves because of AirTV, I feel that that's job done for myself. That's what I wanted, is I wanted people to feel welcome. I wanted people to feel one with their creative process, no matter where they came from and where they were going to go. So if there's people out there that are doing what they want to do, even if it's not in the industry, and it's because of AirTV, then I couldn't be humbler and I couldn't be prouder.